It's time to talk about one of my favorite scientists, Gregor Mendel. Now, Mendel was an Austrian monk, and he actually studied math and botany at the University of Vienna. And he's known as the father of genetics because of the experiments he was doing in the 1860s. He was one of the first scientists to really apply math to his experiments. And he even followed the scientific method very closely, even though it was the 1860s. Now, Mendel chose the pea plants for two reasons. First is they had a short generation time, which means they could reproduce very quickly. Second, he could easily identify the traits of the pea plants. He worked on over 28,000 pea plants over an 8-year span. He controlled which pea plants mated with each other by using a paintbrush controlling which pollen fertilized which flower. In his experiments, he looked at the different traits of pea plants and how they are passed from parent to offspring. You can see some of the different types of traits that he was looking for in these pea plants in this illustration. Now, to start off in the pea generation, he kept on crossing purple flower plants with purple flower plants until there were no white offspring. And he did the same for white flower plants. He kept on crossing white flower pea plants with white flower pea plants until there were no purple offspring. He called these true breeding plants. Next, he took two of those true breeding plants and crossed them together. Now, if the blending hypothesis was true, they should be light purple in color. However, the F1 generation, or the offspring of the purple and white flowers, were all purple. And that didn't make sense to him. So what he did was he took two of those purple flower plants from the F1 generation and he crossed them together. What happened was in the F2 generation, the white flower plants reappeared. The F2 generation saw a 3-to-1 ratio of purple to white. What this did was it disproved the blending hypothesis. And he realized something was controlling the phenotype of the organism. Now, he didn't use Punnett squares because they hadn't been invented yet. But he was understanding that the inheritance of different traits was based on factors that were being inherited from the parents. This illustration does a great job of showing what Mendel found in his research. In the pea generation, Mendel kept on crossing purple flowers with purple flowers and white flowers with white flowers. He called these true breeding plants. He then took a true breeding purple and a true breeding white flower and crossed them together. And by the way, when I say cross, I mean he had them mate together. The offspring of the pea generation is known as the F1 generation, and they were all purple. Mendel then took two of these purple plants and crossed them together. 3 out of the 4 plants were purple, while the white flower plant reappeared in this F2 generation. Mendel found his results because the purple flowers and the white flowers in the pea generation were both homozygous. The purple flowers being homozygous dominant and the white flowers being homozygous recessive. And all the flowers in the F1 generation were heterozygous. When Mendel took 2 of these flowers that were heterozygous and crossed them, 3 of the 4 pea plants in the F2 generation were purple, while only 1 out of the 4 were white.